So, first of all, good evening, everyone. I am Himani Pandey, a graduate from University of Delhi Kalindi College. I'm studying my history honors second year. So, throughout my academic and professional journey, I have cultivated a blend of corporate and volunteer experiences that reflect my dedication for social impact. It is a privilege to be here today, and I stand extremely grateful to the team of GSTS for inviting me, Manish sir, as well as a guest of honor, Madhvi ma'am. So, thank you so much, everyone. Today, we're diving into an exploration of how the institution of marriage has evolved in India. एक ऐसे रिश्ते की कहानी जो समाज के मूल्य और संस्कृति के साथ बदलता जा रहा है. Marriage in India has traditionally been viewed as a lifelong commitment, deeply rooted in cultural, religious, and familial values. However, in recent decades, we have a significant evolution in how marriage is perceived and experienced. This transformation is a reflection of the changing socio-economic dynamics, evolving gender roles, the impact of urbanization, and the growing influence of media and technology. Today, marriage is not just about social expectations, but about personal happiness, mutual respect, and individual growth. The increasing acceptance of divorce and the quest for healthier relationships highlights a shift towards more balanced and equitable partnerships. In this analysis, we will explore how marriage in modern India is evolving, how divorce is becoming a more understood and accepted option, and the key trends and challenges that define contemporary marital relationships. The flow of content for today is portrayal of marriage in ancient texts and its sacred significance, evolution of marriage in historical narratives and colonial influence, modern day marriages and their transformation, present day analysis and trends, and lastly, understanding marriage and divorce through a global lens. Now, portrayal of marriage in ancient texts and its sacred significance. In ancient India, shadi or marriage was not just a social agreement but a deeply spiritual bond. Ancient texts like the Rig Veda and the Manusmriti depicted marriage as a sanskari bandhan, connecting two souls for spiritual growth and fulfillment. The ritual of Saptapadi, the seven steps around the sacred fire, symbolize the promises of a lifelong partnership in prosperity, harmony, and companionship. Ancient Hindu philosophy saw marriage as a sacrament rather than a contract, one that transcended even mrityu or death. For instance, in Mahabharata and Ramayana, we see marriages that embody sacrifice and duty. एक ऐसा सामाजिक और आध्यात्मिक संबंध जो जन जन्मांतर तक चलता आ रहा है. Evolution of marriage through historical narratives and colonial influence. With changing dynasties and colonial influences, India saw shifts in marital practices. Mughal Kal mein Persian customs blended with Hindu traditions, introducing elements of dowry, though later reformers opposed it. During British colonial rule, divorce and individual rights emerged as new concepts. The Hindu Marriage Act of 1955, for instance, brought legislative frameworks but challenged traditional norms by introducing concepts like divorce. Colonial influences also exposed India to Western marital norms. Azadi ke baad, feminism and legal reforms in the 1970s emphasized individual rights, reshaping marriage into a partnership of equals, moving away from traditional gender roles. Modern day marriages and their transformation. Today, marriage is no longer just a samajik farz or a social obligation, but a matter of personal choice. With globalization, people are exposed to a variety of perspectives on relationships, equality, and autonomy. Modern marriage in India is increasingly centered on mutual respect, companionship, and individual happiness. लेकिन आज की शादियों में ये भी देखा गया है कि पर्सनल एक्सपेक्टेशंस और करियर एस्पिरेशंस का इम्पैक्ट और भी ज्यादा है. This shift has led to a rise in urban divorces, as individuals seek fulfillment and compatibility, often stepping away from societal expectations. Divorce rates in urban centers like Mumbai and Delhi have risen by 13.15% in the past decade, signifying how cultural and personal values continue to evolve. With that, we will delve into some personal present day analysis and trends. So let's do a quick statistical overview and some context. So India's divorce rate, once below 1%, has increased particularly in urban areas, where it is now 13.15%. According to the National Family Health Survey, about 1.1% of marriages end in divorce today. Though this rate remains lower than in many Western countries, it does reflect a shift towards more independent decisions in marital relationships. ये बढ़ता हुआ डिवोर्स रेट एक कल्चरल शिफ्ट को दिखाता है, जहां पहले शादी एक जिंदगी भर के बंधन के रूप में देखा जाता था, आजकल लोग अपनी खुशी और अपने इमोशनल वेलबींग को पहले रखते हैं। ये सोसाइटी के नए परसेप्शंस को दर्शाता है और ट्रेडिशनल नॉर्म्स को क्वेश्चन भी करता है। Sociocultural shifts and changing roles in marriage. The participation of women in the workforce has steadily increased, with 25.1% of women in 2022 being employed. Economic independence has empowered women to make decisions that prioritize their happiness, including leaving unhealthy marriages. आजकल women अपनी financial independence के साथ marriage को एक mutual partnership के रूप में देखने लग गई हैं। जब पहले शादी एक फैमिली ड्यूटी हुआ करती थी, अब ये एक रिलेशनशिप है जहां रिस्पेक्ट और सपोर्ट इंपॉर्टेंट है। ये शिफ्ट वुमेन को अपने चॉइसेस बनाने की आजादी देता है। Thus, the traditional gender roles where men were the sole breadwinners and the women were primary caregivers are now shifting. Both partners contribute financially, leading to more shared responsibilities. ये जेंडर रोल्स का एवोल्यूशन शादी को एक बैलेंस्ड पार्टनरशिप बना रहा है, जहां दोनों पार्टनर्स का कंट्रीब्यूशन इक्वली इंपॉर्टेंट है। पर इसके साथ नए चैलेंजेस भी आ रहे हैं, जैसे वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस और एक्सपेक्टेशंस का मैच ना होना। With that, we move on to economic and urbanization influences. With increasing urbanization, more families now live in nuclear structures, making up over 52% of Indian households. This shift leaves couples to deal with marital issues without the support of extended families, often increasing the emotional strain. न्यूक्लियर फैमिलीज की प्राइवेसी और इंडिपेंडेंस अपनी जगह है, लेकिन ये आइसोलेशन और कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रेजोल्यूशन में चैलेंजेस लाती है। जब एक्सटेंडेड फैमिली का सपोर्ट नहीं होता है, तब कपल्स को अपने प्रॉब्लम्स को अपने आप ही सॉल्व करना पड़ता है, जो कभी-कभी डिफिकल्ट हो सकता है। Dual income households are becoming more common, leading to an even distribution of responsibilities, but also raising questions of equality within the marriage. जब दोनों पार्टनर्स का फाइनेंशियल कंट्रीब्यूशन बढ़ रहा है, तो ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी शेयरिंग को प्रमोट करता है, लेकिन इसके साथ ही साथ इमोशनल और डोमेस्टिक लोड का बैलेंस भी कपल्स को ये इंश्योर करना पड़ता है कि वो अपने रोल्स को समझदारी से डिवाइड करें। Technological impact on social media. Technology and social media have redefined how couples interact, but they also introduce new challenges like digital surveillance, trust issues, etc. Studies have shown that a significant number of divorce cases cite technologically related conflicts, with 45% of urban divorce filings in 2022 mentioning social media or digital communication as key stress factors. टेक्नोलॉजी की वजह से लोग एक दूसरे के पर्सनल स्पेस में ज्यादा घुसने लगे हैं। सोशल मीडिया पे जो रिलेशनशिप्स परफेक्ट दिखते हैं, वो रियल लाइफ में उतना आइडियल होते नहीं है, और ये क्रिएट करता है अनरियलिस्टिक एक्सपेक्टेशंस फॉर नॉर्मल कपल्स। Platforms like Instagram and Facebook have filtered images of relationships that often cause dissatisfaction in real life marriages when compared to these curated versions. टेक्नोलॉजी के पॉजिटिव एस्पेक्ट्स के साथ ही साथ उसके डार्क साइड्स भी हैं, जो रिलेशनशिप्स में मिसट्रस्ट और इनसिक्योरिटी को बढ़ाने का काम करते हैं। कपल्स को अपनी डिजिटल प्राइवेसी को बैलेंस करना और एक हेल्दी रिलेशनशिप मेंटेन करना सीखना पड़ता है। The role of cinema and media in shaping perceptions. Media and films have also played a very significant role in changing how divorce is perceived in India. Movies like Thappad from 2020 and Queen from 2014 portray divorce not as failure but as an act of self-liberation and empowerment. Thappad, starring Taapsee Pannu, is a depiction of how a woman leaves her husband over a single slap that was done in a public environment. जब फिल्म्स जैसे थप्पड़ और क्वीन ऐसे टॉपिक्स को मेन स्ट्रीम बनाते हैं, तो ये सोसाइटी में अवेयरनेस और एक्सेप्टेंस लाते हैं। ये फिल्म्स लोगों को ये समझाने में मदद करते हैं कि अगर शादी उनकी मेंटल और इमोशनल वेलबींग को इफेक्ट कर रही है तो डिवोर्स एक वैलिड ऑप्शन है। सिनेमा इम्पैक्ट सोसाइटी में चेंज लाने का काफी बड़ा टूल बन गया है। जब मीडिया रिलेशनशिप्स को डिफाइन करता है तो लोग अपनी पर्सनल लाइफ्स में भी उन नॉर्म्स को अडॉप्ट करते हैं जो ज्यादा हेल्दी और एम्पावरिंग होते हैं। लीगल एंड लेजिस्लेटिव चेंजेस। Laws governing divorce have evolved to reflect changing attitudes towards marriage and separation. The Hindu Marriage Act and the Special Marriage Act now make it easier for couples to divorce through mutual consent. ये legal changes society के नए mindset को दिखाते हैं। जब डिवोर्स के लिए लीगल प्रोसीजर्स को सिंप्लीफाई किया जाता है तो ये उन लोगों के लिए रिलीफ का काम करता है जो अपनी शादी को लीगली एंड करना चाहते हैं। डिवोर्स लॉज के इस एवोल्यूशन से यह क्लियर होता है कि लॉ भी सोसाइटी के चेंजिंग परसेप्शंस को फॉलो करता है। ये प्रोटेक्टिव मेजर्स के साथ इंडिविजुअल्स को अपने राइट्स को अपहोल्ड करने का मौका देता है। साइकोलॉजिकल एंड मेंटल हेल्थ कंसिडरेशंस। द ग्रोइंग इम्पैक्ट of therapy and mental health care in India is helping individuals to prioritize their emotional health, which often leads to decisions that enhance leaving unhealthy marriages. जब मेंटल हेल्थ को प्रायोरिटी दी जाती है तो लोग अपने रिलेशनशिप्स के इमोशनल एस्पेक्ट को समझते हैं, और अगर शादी में टॉक्सिक बिहेवियर हो तो ये अवेयरनेस लोगों को अपने मेंटल पीस के लिए डिसीजंस लेने में मदद करती है। Thus, mental health awareness is gradually shifting due to societal values, enabling people to recognize and address the emotional toxicity in their relationships. ये अवेयरनेस शादियों को हेल्दी और सस्टेनेबल बनाने में बहुत ज्यादा मदद करती है। Now, let's understand marriage through a global lens. By analyzing the marriage and divorce rates in different countries, we can gain insights into the social, cultural, and legal factors that influence these trends. Globally, divorce rates have risen significantly, with countries like the US and European nations seeing rates around 40 to 50%. These regions have liberalized divorce laws, making it very easy for individuals to part ways. In contrast, countries like Japan and Italy have much lower divorce rates, like 20 to 10%, due to cultural values that prioritize family preservation. In the West, divorce laws have become more streamlined, often based on no-fault grounds, which makes divorce more accessible. Whereas in India, the process is much more complex and varies for different religious communities, with legal battles often taking years. Though recent reforms like the Domestic Violence Act of 2005 have made progress, divorce still remains a difficult and lengthy process in India. In many Western countries, divorce is no longer seen as taboo, with the growing acceptance of individual happiness over marital obligations in India. However, divorce still carries social stigma, especially for women, due to our traditional views of marriage as a sacred bond. And while younger generations are challenging these norms, the societal pressure to maintain marriages remains strong, upholding the traditional values of a sacred bond that marriage is. In developed nations, economic independence, especially for women, has been a key factor in rising divorce rates. Women's financial self-sufficiency enables them to leave unhappy marriages. In India, however, economic dependence, particularly in rural areas, continues to make divorce less common. However, urban women's increasing financial independence is slowly shifting this dynamic. Globalization has influenced marriage patterns worldwide, with media and migration spreading new ideals of personal freedom and gender equality. For example, in India, which is now influenced by Western ideals, is witnessing a shift in marital expectations, particularly in urban areas where individuals are questioning traditional marital roles in favor of more egalitarian relationships. India's divorce rate still remains one of the lowest globally, at about 1% compared to 40 to 50% in Western countries. This is not necessarily because Indian marriages are more successful, but because of the social pressure, stigma, and the complex legal process. However, with urbanization and changing cultural values, divorce rates in Indian cities are rising, indicating a shift in attitudes towards marriage and divorce. Resolving present challenges by reconnecting with tradition and embracing modernity. To strengthen the institution of marriage, India needs to balance traditional values with modern solutions. We can encourage communication, empathy, mutual support in relationships, while also integrating modern counseling methods to handle conflicts. One such example being संस्कारी मूल्य or traditional values. पुरानी मान्यताएं जैसे धैर्य, सम्मान, प्रतिबद्धता आज भी जरूरी है. इनका पुनः मूल्यांकन करके हम समझदारी और सहनशीलता को बढ़ावा दे सकते हैं, जिससे संघर्षों का सामना करना बहुत आसान हो जाता है. मॉडर्न काउंसलिंग अप्रोचेस जैसे कि थेरेपी से कपल्स को अपने रिश्तों को बेहतर बनाने के लिए बहुत कौशल मिलता है, जिससे कि संवाद बढ़ाना और तनाव कम करने में मदद होती है. फैमिली सपोर्ट एंड इंटरजेनरेशनल विजडम. परिवार और बुजुर्गों से सलाह लेना भी बहुत अहम हो चुका है, क्योंकि उनके अनुभव नई पीढ़ी को मानसिक स्थिरता देने में मदद करते हैं. जेंडर इक्वालिटी एंड म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट. समझदारी और समानता की भावना को बढ़ाना देना, वहीं से रिश्ते की मजबूत होने की शुरुआत होती है. घर के कामों से लेकर भावनात्मक समर्थन तक दोनों पार्टनर्स के बीच एक बैलेंस रहना चाहिए. ब्रिजिंग ट्रेडिशन विद मॉडर्निटी. संस्कारों को आधुनिक तरीकों से जोड़कर हम मजबूत और खुशहाल रिश्ते बना सकते हैं. पारंपरिक मूल्यों से भावनात्मक स्थिरता मिलती है, जबकि आधुनिक उपाय व्यवहारिक समस्याओं को सुलझाने में मदद करते हैं. Thus, the transformation of marriage in India is a powerful reminder of the growing emphasis on personal choice, emotional well-being, and mutual respect in relationships. While traditional norms still hold value, the present-day marital landscape shows a society that has progressively become more flexible, open-minded, and willing to adapt to the needs of individuals. As we navigate these changes, it is important to acknowledge that divorce is not the end of a story, but rather a means of empowerment for those seeking peace and fulfillment. The trends we see today point towards a future where marriage will not remain a societal obligation, but a partnership that will thrive on equality, understanding, and mutual support, ensuring that individuals are free to pursue their personal happiness and growth. Thank you. The floor is now open for questions or opinions.
Thank you so much, Miss Sakshi. Thank you so much, Miss. Uh, Wait, I mean, just
Himani,
okay.
Himani.
Yeah, Himani. Okay, yeah, Himani. Thank you so much, Himani, for such a wonderful depiction of such a complicated issue, such a soft issue regarding Indian society. So thank you so much for such a wonderful talk. Now we have some questions for you. So let's take them one by one. So the first question is that globalization has definitely affected the marriage institution. So how do you envision the future of marriage rituals evolving while still preserving their core values that promote healthy relationships?
All right. So, as I mentioned in my talk, that globalization has a very huge impact on how we perceive marriage now. So, while previously we used to look at it as this sacred bond that goes on for 7 lives and something that we cannot just leave if situation becomes difficult, but now the concept because of globalization, the concepts of individualism and individual mindset has influenced people to think more of their personal well-being instead of this sacred bond that we call marriage. That is why the concept of globalization, individualism, and how people are focusing and prioritizing their well-being as opposed to how they should prioritize ideally marriage as something a mutual bond would. So I believe that since globalization affects marriage a lot, we can expect to uphold traditional norms while also addressing these new mindsets, shifting mindsets that are coming to us. How we can do that is we should incorporate uh, lives that people led before us. So I'm sure if any one of us look at our parents and their parents, we can see how they used to live in a joint family setting, how there used to be different modes of communication. How there used to be more gestures that would ensure that the other person feels loved. Whereas nowadays it is more about technological advancements and how we prioritize ourselves above the other person in the relationship. So I think that is something that needs to be held in a perfect balance, traditional norms as well as modernity, in order to lead a very healthy and happy relationship.
Okay, so basically it is a journey of parallel efforts. Okay,
Yeah.
now we have a next question like, what cultural practices do you believe are most effective in fostering resilience and commitment in marriages to prevent divorce?
Uh, what can you repeat the question, please?
Okay, sure. Like the question is that what cultural practices do you believe are most effective in fostering resilience and commitment in marriages to prevent divorce?
So for me personally, I came from a family where we were a very joint family. So we did not have much examples growing up of healthy relationships apart from our very own parents. So I think when people they see healthy and happy relationships amongst their families, so that cultural value of a joint family or families that live together, where there are examples of healthy relationships that are other than you and your partner. So I think that cultural value is something that we still should preserve nowadays in order to maintain that balance, because that is something that projects a very great view of what marriages should look like and what we as a community need to uphold.
Okay. And when you said that you like family, you talked about joint family. I have one more question, and the last question is that, in your opinion, how important is the role of extended family involvement in maintaining the marital harmony and preventing divorce, positively as well as negatively?
Sure. So I think objectively, not in my personal opinion, objectively, I think one way why joint families or families that are comprising of more than one relationship live under the same roof, it helps in a way because, for example, a partner, a couple just had a major conflict. They do not have any mediator between them to resolve that. And ultimately, the children become very they become kind of like the mediators for their parents, which is not something that should be upheld as an ideal situation. Whereas in a joint family setting, there would be an adult, or not an adult, other people who would be involved, who would be acting as mediators, and there would be no direct representation of anger in front of people who should not have to see that, like children. So I think that is where a joint family setting plays a very crucial role by acting as mediators.
Okay, a wonderful Q&A session. Now, moving forward, I have one last question which we always ask to our speakers, and the question is that, what was your experience with this platform?
I had an amazing experience. I got in contact the first time with Saurabh sir, and he was really helpful in introducing me to what GSTS is and what I should expect from it, what are my expectations. So it was a really engaging session with him. And then I curated this entire talk and made my PPT and everything. So with this intention that I would be able to educate people more on why exactly this trend is happening, because we know it is happening, and हमें देख के लगता है कि ओ ये तो एक ऐसी चीज है कि जो हो ही रही है. We do not know the reasons behind it. So I think that is why this talk was very essential, especially for today's generation, to understand what exactly marriage was in our community, in our country, and what it has become now, and how we can move forward with it.
And
Definitely.
how we interacted to you while pre-meet, Miss Himani.
Yes, we had a really great pre-meet where I met a lot of amazing people, a lot of mentors. They gave so many great suggestions that I probably would not even have thought of, like even after studying the same topic for years. So I think that is something that I really cherish. I really appreciated the new opinions and things that I would not look for otherwise in this topic. So ritualization specifically, that is something that I really appreciated.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Himani, and you certainly put 100% justice in your today's presentation. Once again, congratulations for such a wonderful depiction. And
Thank you.
now it's time, now it's time to invite today's guest of honor, Dr. Madhavi Jha ma'am. Ma'am, please come and put your final remarks over today's topic and over GSTS and over today's session. Please, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Shalendra. And I would like to congratulate Himani. It was a wonderful presentation and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Himani, when you were talking about the marriage, and I'm really happy that you try to cover so many things. You're talking about, cinema, you're talking about social media, technology, digital privacy. You're talking about legal aspect of it. You're also talking about the mental health, and there are so many things. You're talking about somewhere social pressure, role of the family, joint family versus the nuclear family. You're talking about. At the same time, you are talking about the individualism and the family, right? So, or here, as you were talking about cultural values, cultural norms of any society. So, I would like to know from you what is your source, because you are talking about so many things. And I'm really surprised to see the title of your paper. It calls Ritualization of Marriage Institution. So I'm like I really want to know how you see this term ritualization of marriage, because your topic, your presentation is a transition from marriage to divorce, right? So where come the ritualization, the concept of ritualization here? This is the first thing. And the way you were talking about movie Thappar or The Queen, where it is like women centric cinema where they're talking about the agency of the women. But I remember one movie, it is very old one. I don't recall the correct name, but I hope it is about it is Mr. and Mrs. 55 something, because it was the movie which addressed the role of the divorce, right? Where some the female character, they are quite modern, modernity, individualism, and at the same time they are looking for the divorce. But at the end of the movie, as those days, 70s, 80s, 90s, it is about the family institution, it is about the role of the women, traditional, it is about the cultural. So it is like how this whole act, the divorce act in India, it is somehow breaking. The depiction of the movie is more about that. Okay, so this is the one thing I think we need to see, that how this trajectory transfer from one generation to another. And at the same time, I would like to know that while you are talking about the individualism, you just said that the it is more about the individualism when people, they are looking for the, or they are going for the option as a divorce, as a separation and all. So I would like to know how you see the role of the state here, because as far as I'm concerned, I don't think marriage is only as community affair. It is very much a state affair also in any society. Who will recognize the marriage? Who will recognize the divorce? So, in which conditions, on which parameters they recognize this institution? At the same time, they say it is null and void, and they go for the or they go for the divorce. They accepted the divorce as well. So I would like to know about it. And then because if we talk about the individualism, so I would like to see what, in your opinion, individualism versus here the role of the society. As in your talk, it is more about the family, joint family. And I would also like to know what are your sources when you prepare your presentation, because this is covering hell, well, like lots of things, right? As I already mentioned, that you are talking about economic things, you are talking about social cultural things, technology, you're talking about urban versus the rural area and the differentiation. So I think we need to focus a little more why there are these differences. So I hope you can further develop on these lines, and it could be a very good paper. which you can, go for the research and later on you can publish also. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your remarks and suggestions for the speaker. And thank you so much once again for joining us today as a guest of honor. Now, proceeding
If
further.
Silent, if Himani want to say something, because there are so many questions, and for Dr.
Okay.
Madhvi's one question, ritualization, I'll answer. So rest of answer the Himani will give, and the word
Okay.
ritualization, because it's our side preposition, so I can give my explanation at the end. Himani, if you want to say something, then go ahead.
Yes, sir. I wanted to address ritualization only. Sources, though, I can also transfer to ma'am whenever through mail or whatever. But apart from that, I also wanted to address that how ma'am brought up the topic that I am talking about, individualism versus the cultural aspect. So I think I just wanted to clear that up a little bit. That I don't want to draw a distinct line between individualism and cultural values. What I want to do is curate a comparative analysis on why or how globalization caused this values of individualism from a communal community or communal tradition that we upheld, and how that came into our society and how we are developing on it. So currently what we see as a society is communal values along with individualism. So it is not versus, it is something that I want uh, we as society to uphold together in order to create a perfect balance.
Okay. May I interrupt here? Oh, not interrupt, but I would like to extend it further. As you know that in India, when you talk about the marriage and the way we have perceived the marriage or the divorce, so it is not about the concept. When you talk about the marriage or you would talk about the concept, especially the divorce, it is very much a legal term, right? But beside this legality, even in India, in some part of India, like a larger section, you see, when where these terms were not defined for a longer period of time, as you can see in the context of the tribal society and all. So separation, it is not that it is only coming through the global, right? So it is like the things were there. It is not that only it is because of the global pressure. There are certain things which were there. It is like which were existing. So we also need to recognize at some point of time that these things were there, but now because of the legal term like marriage institution, or I talked about the role of the state, you need to register your marriage, right? So there is some identification of this legal document, how a state plays. So when you talk about the divorce in your presentation, it is very much about the legal term, but besides it is also about the relationship, as you focused a lot about the relationship. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
It was a wonderful talk. I enjoyed thoroughly. Thank
Thank
you.
you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, and thank you so much, Himani, once again. Now, proceeding further, it's time to invite our to-be speaker for next Sunday, Miss Vanshika, and she will be speaking on the topic colonization of Africa and its contemporary effects on next Sunday. So, Miss Vanshika, you could speak your objectives.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Vanshika, and I am currently pursuing my Bachelor of Arts in History honors at Kalindi College, Delhi University. As a history enthusiast, I believe that understanding the past is key to making sense of the world we live in today. I chose the topic the colonization of Africa and its contemporary effects because it is a subject that resonates deeply with the interconnected nature of history and its lasting impact on the present. Africa's colonial past is not just a chapter in history, it is a legacy that continues to shape the continent's socio-economic structures, political systems, and cultural identities today. Studying this topic allows you to explore critical questions about power dynamics, exploitation, resilience, and the struggle for self determination. It also sheds light on how historical injustices continue to affect global inequality, something that remains relevant in discussions of development, globalization, and international relations. By understanding this topic, we can gain deeper insights into how historical events still influence contemporary realities and perhaps contribute to meaningful conversations about justice, reparations, and sustainable development for Africa and other regions with similar histories. This topic is not just about looking back, it's about understanding how history informs the future, and that is what drew me to it. The topic I'll be discussing is the colonization of Africa and its contemporary effects. Colonization was a transformative period that left an indelible mark on Africa. It wasn't just about territorial conquest. It involved the restructuring of societies, economies, and cultures. European powers exploited the continent's resources, suppressed its people, and redrew its boundaries, often with devastating consequences. But colonialism didn't end up with the departure of the colonizers. Its legacies continue to shape Africa's modern challenges and opportunities. In the next session, I'll be taking you through the history of colonization in Africa, exploring the motives, methods, and impacts of European imperialism. We will also delve into the contemporary effects of colonialism, how it influences governance, economic structures, social hierarchies, and even cultural identities in Africa today. So I invite you all to join me in this discussion on the next Sunday as we reflect on how history continues to resonate in the present and consider the ways forward for addressing these complex legacies. I look forward to you for sharing your insights and sharing my thoughts as well on that day. Thank you so much.